Hey, loves. My name is Grace Redman, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Real Talk, where I get to have real life, raw conversations with incredible people from my circles and communities who have overcome challenges and created amazing. I love my job. I get to talk to so many incredible people, and they inspire me and motivate me every time. And I know that you can definitely be somewhere else because there are so many other places you can be. So I am so thankful and grateful to you as always. So please share, like, and subscribe so we can continue to bring you incredible guests like my really inspiring, incredible guest today, Wen Peetes. Wen is an enlivening speaker, author, and healing coach who has devoted her life to helping driven women come home to peace with themselves and the freedom to live life on their own terms. After pulling herself out of a deeply traumatic childhood, Wen climbed the ranks of the corporate world, achieving financial status and positions of power until one day she realized that wasn't the path to freedom she was truly seeking. This took her on a journey across the ocean, becoming a singer songwriter in England, where she rediscovered and remembered her life's mission and her source of pure joy. After reconnecting with what it feels like to truly be alive, she created Rebel for a Spell to help people to pave the path for themselves. Wen holds an MBA from the University of Brighton, England, and partners with charities that are dedicated to empowering young girls. She's amazing, and I've really just enjoyed getting to know Wen, and I'm so excited to introduce you to her today. Help me welcome Wen Peetes to the show. Hi, Wen.
Hello, I am so honored,
Thank-
tickled, and
Oh,
delighted to be here. Thank you. Thank you for your grace, Grace.
it's my pleasure. It's just been so incredible to connect with you, be in your energy, to read your story. It's amazing and inspiring, and it reminds me that when we do connect to our higher self of what's possible. And thank you so much for, sharing your story. So many great
Absolutely.
points. Can you share a
Absolutely.
little bit, just share a little bit about, I love how you were, in some of the deepest and darkest times of your life, and then you came to a point where you knew you had to take some steps to heal. Can you share with our audience, what was that first step you took?
The first step I took. Grace, I did not even take that step. The step was taken for me, and through that tunnel, that's what I call it, of enlightenment, I was pulled through to
Mm,
deliverance. Meaning, in my last attempt at suicide, when I absolutely let go of the wheel on that Virginia highway, because I did not want to be struggling in this life, in this body, in this being anymore, I had given up. I said, oh, I can go and be useful. I can go feed the fish. That's literally what I thought in my mind. I
mm,
have no purpose here. There's no need for me. I make no sense at all. Set me free. And the divine being sprinkled a song into my soul as I let go of the wheel and sang into me,
mm.
come back to me.
Oh,
You are my child. Come back to me. Oh, Grace, that was not me. That was some other force that believed in me when I had no power or no way of believing in me, because all I knew up until that point was shame, was depression, was loneliness, unbelonging to even this world.
mm,
So it was not me. I give I give the glory to some other force, some other source that had kept me in this life for so long, 28 years. That's the point I came to that awakening, that glorious awakening, and it pulled me through. And when that happened, I said, I am saved for a reason.
mm,
I have a responsibility, and it's no longer about my uncomfortability with all the stories of my past, that catalytic beginning of being abused as a child by my parents, served a bigger purpose. It was
Yes.
supposed to seed me with the resiliency, tenacity, the gall to show up here with you, Grace, transparent, with nothing to hide, nothing to defend, just to share the transformation and the power that we all hold within us to become our freedom.
Oh, that brings me chills because when the conversation, I'm getting emotional because the conversation I just had before we got on this podcast was the challenges that we are facing in this world as a collective is to bring us closer to source, to what you want to call God, universe, creator. And I truly believe that our challenges, even the atrocities that are happening in the world or that might be happening in our lives, is what you just said, is to bring us back to ourselves, to connect to ourselves and to that higher power that I call God, and sometimes I refer to it as universe. So what I heard you say is, in that moment where you wanted to just surrender your life, you felt the presence of a higher power.
Yes, I did. It lives within each and every
Yeah,
one of us. It
it
lives
does.
within each of every one of us.
Mhm.
And I reconnected with that memory because as a child, I was always very intuitive. I would get visions. I would get a knowing that I knew that that's the thing I needed to do. For example, I'm from an island in St. Kitts, tiny island. You cannot even find it on the map if you tried. And I remember, Grace, climbing my grandmother's guinea tree. It's a tree that's indigenous to my country. And I pointed out all the islands in the Caribbean that I could see that I would visit. And I knew I would go there. And I did. And then move on. In high school, I said, oh, I'm going to move to America, New York, and I'm going to work for, and I called the company name here, Ernst& Young, one of the largest accounting firms in the whole world. And guess what happened? It happened.
Yeah.
There's a knowing within us. If we nurture and reconnect with it, we come back to our birthright position of joy. But
Yes.
life coaches us out. People are following the patterns of our influencers. They coach us out of remembering our greatness, of believing that we are already connected to a power that gets us the thing that we want to, and that ultimately is wholeness with ourselves. But it takes courage. It takes courage.
So I agree. I agree with everything that you said. Why do you believe it takes courage for us to come back to ourselves when what's on the other side of coming back to ourselves is so amazing?
Well, I love this question because, Grace, we are humans, and in our humanness, we want to see the result first. Show me that I will love my beloved. Show me somehow that it's guaranteed. Show me the result so then I will believe in the result and then I will take the inspired action to get the results. Many of us are programmed like that. Show me the proof first. It takes a lot of guts for you to not see and not rely on your five senses anymore and just move with a knowing and a belief that because the belief, the desire is deposited in you, that it so must be. And it's faith, whether you're religious or not, whatever your religious attachments or none, or maybe you believe in nature, whomever's listening on this podcast. Faith is something that requires no proof. It just needs your conviction.
Yes.
And if you have that, you're so not worried about convincing somebody else that you're going to do this thing. And you don't worry about getting their opinions. And all you rely on is the courage of your conviction, the courage of your faith, and you move with it. And a lot of people don't do that because we're not trained to look inwards, to listen inwards. We are trained to follow the template of somebody else's certainty. Go to undergraduate school, do this, do that,
Yes.
marry the people in your neighborhood, do this, do that's certainty. And there's comfort in that. I did that for a long time until I listened inwards and really got honest about what I wanted, truly wanted. And that takes courage. It takes courage.
You're absolutely right, and it does. I can. It takes courage because we can't see it, is what I heard you say. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to take this. Since you brought it up, I'm going to take it to the other level because we can. Well, that's talking about unwavering faith and trusting and surrendering to that power that we were just talking about. And I don't have the answers. And as I'm walking this journey, I'm recognizing, oh my gosh, Grace, that's it. There is no other way except to surrender to that power. Like I try with my humanness, I've taken action and yes, I've gotten to here. And it's exhausting when I'm depending on myself. And I believe in that unwavering faith and the surrender and what we can't see because I've experienced the miracles. Yet I'm also human. And although I've experienced the miracles, that ego part of me continues to question, how is it going to be moving forward? And when I surrender to my higher self, I know it's going to be just fine and better than I could ever imagine it. But as a human, when I still suffer.
Yes. Let's don't say suffer. You're still learning to
I'm still
accept the
learning.
divine greatness inside of
Yeah.
you, Grace. And I love what you've just shared. You've allowed us to see you. Thank you. You have found a way somehow to soothe yourself back home.
Yeah.
All our humanness needs to come to the full table. We are not magicians.
Mm-mm.
Every day, Grace, everything that you say, I'm sure that somebody else experienced as I have. And so, to soften my willingness to embrace my humanness, I just look at it. I said, yeah, you're having a human moment, and everybody has these human moments, but don't forget that's divine greatness. The challenges that come up, the things that challenge your power position of being divine, serves you and me because it reminds us, it gets us to seed even more our belief and practices. We have to do the work, the daily
Absolutely.
work. Exactly. So it almost is like a welcome for me. This is how I see it because every day there's something that challenges what we're doing, something that I call it the whisper warrior. He says, "Oh, you're doing this wrong. You're wasting your time. Go back to corporate." Da da da. All this yippity yap. That's just fear looking for a little maybe cup of tea. So come on in here, fear, and let's have a chat. I see you. You're nervous. You want attention. But let me inform you again. There's nothing to struggle about. Is surrender, and surrendering feels wrong and lazy and counterintuitive. It really does. But that's the faith, though. That's the deep faith in knowing that it's not supposed to be perfect. It's never going to be right. You're never going to be done being grace and on your mission, or when and on her mission. That's the whole point, to bring all humanness and
That
slowly soothe ourselves into surrender. That's it. It's hard
thank
to be that way, especially if you are, like I suspect you are. I am a super overachiever. And the best thing I've ever done, Grace, was to slow down and open myself to receive more, like a tree just hanging out on the beach, a palm tree just chilling, just chilling. And
yeah,
great,
girl.
that's when the divine gives me those nudges, those whispers, and a song bounces in my heart, and an inspiration to do this thing, to reach out to Grace. When I do nothing, meaning just surrender to my greatness, to receive more than I give, sounds strange. That's when it comes. And it's hard to train ourselves out of what we have been, but it's worth it.
It's so worth it because I am one of those people that tied my self-worth and my receiving and my deserving to how much I did. So I've been unraveling that over the last 10 years and experimenting with when I surrender and accept and allow, I do receive. However, I've noticed recently I've fallen back into that pattern of taking so much action. And I know we need to take action. And it just felt so hard.
Mm.
And I it took a moment and then I realized like, okay, Grace, you're falling back into your pattern. You feel that you need to take all of this action to deserve and to receive. And the moment I surrendered, And I said, you know what? I'm a child of the Most High God. I was brought into this life to be abundant. And I know that might sound corny to some people, but I believe it. And so when I stepped back and I said, I have all within me, like, I don't need to hustle and grind. I've done that and I've hurt myself doing that. I can just trust. And girl, within 24 hours, I had been working months and months. Then within 24 hours, the dominoes started falling. And I stepped back and I
Mm.
said, I mean, could this be real?
Amen. It
And
is
I'm
real.
talking from experience.
It is 1000% real, Grace. And that's the thing, right? I have found, I'm so glad you shared that. For me, it starts with the inside first. I used to be exactly what you said, go getter, working in these large publicly traded companies, doing the thing. That's what we're trained to do.
For
Our
sure.
value Our value and our worthiness is only demonstrated by somebody else's validation of it, mirroring to us what we already know. Our value is placed in the authority of somebody else. For me, I no longer do that.
No
I start
longer.
here first.
Yes.
Before every day, before I touch my computer, I do anything physical. I'm doing the work inside first. That takes priority because it's so easy for our humanness to come on board and say, girl, you didn't do that thing, but you see online Paula did that thing. And look,
Yes.
she's applying for this speaking engagement, and you're
Yes.
not. And I have it takes time and it takes guts and it takes compassion to come back and say, no, inside, if I decided I believe fully
Yes.
that I was born into worthiness, then everything will be okay. It takes practice, Grace, every day. There's not one day. Even my honey, he says, oh my, when you're meditating again, we have to go to meet so and so for dinner. I'm like, yes, honey, that's fine. I'll change the time that I meditate. It's not gonna not happen. There's no it's not negotiable. The inner work must come first. And then
I
everything else, the inspiration comes, the ease, abundance. A
yes.
lot of people just look at financial abundance. For me, has been the most rewarding thing I've been experiencing is ease of the, like you just said, 24 hours, miracles if we let go and
Yes.
seed first our belief in our worthiness to receive the thing, then the inspiration comes. But if we are, if we desire something so outrageous, whatever it is, or so small, and we don't truly believe that it is ours to achieve, to attain, then it's not going to happen. I've seen that happen
No,
in my life many times.
I have as well. And I also am aware that the work is tied to my self-worth. And I've never been in such a great place that I am now. And I'm also aware that I'm leveling up. And so as I'm leveling up, I can feel the fears and insecurities coming again. And like you said, the comparison and also there's a part of me I'm going, like, I know that I have gifts, of course, because I was created in the image of the Almighty. So we all have gifts. I know I have gifts. And I know I'm talented because He gave me those gifts and those talents to be of service. And there's also a part of me that this is something I'm going to work on, that feels ashamed to come out and say, you know what, I know I'm talented. I know I have these gifts. I'm going to be of service, because society has taught us that, especially for women, that if we show up in our glory and in our gifts, then we are the B word, then we're stuck up, we're full of ourselves. But in reality, that's how you get to the other side, is by owning those gifts that God gave us. Can you speak to that?
Amen. I love it. Literally, last night, I was walking in the hall and a song was coming to me and something else was coming, and I get all these impulses. And I said, yes, Wen, you are a gift and
Yes.
you are gifted. And it wasn't from an ego base, it was just from a neutral place of knowing that I know, and it's not ego. And that's what your leveling up reminds me of, where we are unapologetic, not egotistical. It's just a matter of saying this is natural. Loving is natural. My gifts are
Yes.
natural. Somebody else out there needs to see me in this light of freedom, where I speak the words. And I sing from the rooftop of my voice with such freedom and such gall that it inspires them to look in and say, wait a minute, I should ask for that raise because I want the raise. And it's natural for me to get the raise because it supports my child in daycare and piano lesson, whatever. So when we come to peace with the gifts that we are given to share, and we look at it from that light, we're sharing. So how
Yes.
else would somebody know that we are seated with these bountiful gifts that they can benefit from if we don't tell them, if we don't sing it, if we don't share it? So I completely understand, Grace, because we are not trained to realize that I'm going to say the word. Some people may not agree. There's a God within us that needs proclamation through our gifts, whatever that is. If it's listening, if it's compassion, many people think they don't have talents because they're not, you know, playing an instrument or an author or something. We all have talents. One of my
Amen.
cousins, Deidre, she listens very compassionately. That's a gift.
Amen.
Celebrate it, right? Celebrate it. We're supposed to do that. And that's
Yeah.
when another lady may see you, hear you say about your distance between your acceptance of your greatness and the shame you feel in your greatness. She will resonate with that and say, you know what? I felt that way too. There is no shame in proclaiming that you are a goddess that was anointed by your maker to share this quality with the world. The world is waiting, craving for our messages. And that's why I shared with my in my book so transparently, because it was not about me anymore. It wasn't about my convenience of being embarrassed that my parents did what they did. Listen, this is what it is. I am where I am. I am who I am, and this is what I'm meant to do.
Amen. Amen. I love hanging out with you, Wen.
I love hanging out with you too. Amen.
So, something that you talked about is stop hitchhiking your joy. What do you mean by stop hitchhiking your joy?
I love this question. It means that for many of us, prosperity is influenced by somebody else's equation. It could
Mm,
be your culture, your parents, how you were raised, your friends in your networking group. We look on the outside of ourselves to figure out what joy feels and tastes like to us.
mm,
And we don't realize, wait. I am me. I have lived my experiences that are unique to me. What inside of me decides how joy feels like outside of every external influence, outside of television, it's outside of social media, makeup. Forget all of that. What does joy feel like? What feels joyful? What have I done that has bring me joy
mm.
personally? It could be something quiet and silent, whatever it is. So what we do, and I have done, I did for a long time, was say, hey, somebody says money makes you happy. So let me get that juicy high six figures because that's what they say. But then you get the thing and you realize, this is it. That's not my joy. That's somebody else's version of joy. Then you say, oh, let me go travel the world and meet up all these experiences. And maybe at that time, Grace, your desire was fulfilled. But as we evolve as human beings, we amend each and every desire. So our
Yeah.
joy gets translated in a different way in our bodies. So that traveling no longer satisfied us. And then you say, I'm so lonely. Let me go meet somebody. You meet somebody else. And I'm basically saying, when you listen listen inwards to what you truly need, how you truly feel, how you react to yourself. That's when you realize, let me open myself up to define what joy looks like on my terms, irrespective of the job, the lover, the candy. For me, it was I was addicted to ice cream with my depression. Outside of that, stop hitchhiking your joy and realize that you create that joy.
Mhm.
You create that joy just from being you and recognizing that the baseline of who you are, your birthright, power, position was worthiness, was
Amen.
joy, was love, and you reconnect.
And so it keeps coming back to It's within us. It's not outside of us. It's not the job. It's not the house. It's not the car. It's not the lover. It's not the ice cream. All of those
It's
things are
within
really
us.
cool. And when we connect with ourselves, those other things are just the icing on the cake.
Absolutely, the icing on the cake. Because we live inside our bodies, Grace. We live inside our mind. And we cannot unlive the life we have lived, whether it's
Mm,
traumatic or not. We cannot
yeah,
unlive the lives we have lived. So when we accept and come home to peace with ourselves, there is joy and freedom in that because there's
yeah,
nothing to prove, there's nothing to hide, and there's so much joy in that clarity. There's
absolutely.
so much joy in that clarity. So the comparison is like you're not comparing yourself to anybody
No,
else. You
no.
celebrate. You want to tell everybody about Grace and her podcast because that's wonderful. The more you share your gifts, your joy, whatever it means, like we inspire another generation and another
Yes,
generation to do
yes,
the same inwards.
yes. Going inwards. In your book, I loved reading about how you and your cousins would play with the elephants in St. Kitts, and that you would be out all day and just the playfulness. And I feel that we've lost our playfulness. How how is our play how can we tap into our playfulness, the child within us for the playfulness, and how can that playfulness help us elevate and attract what we want?
Oh, I love this. For me, Grace, I've always felt like I was an adult as a child. So much responsibilities.
Me too,
And,
sister.
right? So many responsibilities. And when I was with my cousins, we were wild children. Wild meaning in St. Kitts, we didn't even have any stoplights. We had the mountains and the hills. We would hike for days, go to the beach, eat fruit, whatever we wanted to do. And that playfulness, that freedom, we would twirl, we would dive, we would do whatever. But as we deal with life and we are trained to be strict with our presentation, our smile, we guard the words that we use because we don't want people to see how wild and outrageous and enthusiastic we are because it doesn't fit into their mold of accepting us, their mold of accepting us, and we quiet our brimming joy. So for me, Grace, I have let go and surrender to the person I am. I twirl
Yes.
literally in my cul-de-sac in my car and I go, wee
Yes.
with my head up. Why? It's freeing, it's inviting joy in. If you want to taste joy, practice tasting joy,
Yes.
whatever that means to you. I in the supermarket, I'm singing in a carrot if the spirit hits me. I smile to whomever. I don't know the person. I'm just smiling. We have to practice the feelings that bring us closer to our made to be. We are not made to be sulky, grumpy, and complaining.
No,
That takes
we
so
are
much
not.
energy. And so when we
It's
free ourselves, right? When we free ourselves and come home to the child within us, to the child that's free, unjudgmental within us, unjudgmental of ourselves, and we realize we decide how we feel and we live with ourselves, that's when you let go. You go to the park and you go on the monkey, whatever they call those bars, and you go and you twirl wherever you need to, you feel like it, and you're not worried about somebody else's opinion. That's not your
no,
business. That's not
it's
your
not.
business.
It's not. And I
We
learned
have
that.
to nurture ourselves. Yes, but we're caught up in that, right? Because you have to be professional, you have to be all these things.
Right.
But
Well, I love what you
when you divorce yourself from your essence, that's not loving. That's
know.
not loving.
Well, also when we divorce ourselves from our essence, if we want to believe this or not, our spirit, our body tell us, and that comes in very different, ways. Our body does keep score, and as much as we try to hide or be someone that we're not, we'll feel it and it'll
Mhm.
manifest, in physically. I mean, I can say that from experience over, um, you know, my decades of life now that I look back. And the more work that I've done and the more I've gone within, the more freedom I've felt. So exactly what you said. The more I've let myself play, the less that I've cared about what people say. Now, I'm not going to say I'm not human and I don't get triggered or feel things. Of course I do. However, I'm aware of it, and then I come back to God, universe, and myself, and I recognize that's all illusion. That's the adversary trying to bring me down, because that's what the adversary does, right? Keep us down, keep you feeling not good enough. Because if you stay down and you're not good enough, then you can't rise to that place of power
Mm,
that's within all of us.
mm.
And if we're all so powerful, then what's going to happen?
Ah. We are
We're getting
intimidated by ourselves, Grace. I tell you, we are intimidated by the possibility of our power. So, self judgment and self doubt are the crutches that we use, that we've been trained to use to
so right.
keep us quiet, small, and palatable to somebody else. And I
That's right.
say, no more, baby.
That's
No
right.
more. We ain't got no time for that. We ain't got no time for that.
That
The
you see your
world is
accent.
waiting, right? The world is waiting for our courage. And so
Yes.
I, Grace, I step up and I accept the challenge of the universe, of my God, to be the machete for my
Yes.
generation, for my lineage, for my people. I accept it. So it's no longer about me. Yes,
Yes.
I will judge myself occasionally because I am human. So, how do I
Yes.
counteract that judgment? How do I counteract that criticism and fear that comes up? I recognize that I need help. I ask for help.
Yes.
I ask the divine, show me the way. I don't know the way. I don't know the how. And the divine says, you don't need to know the how, baby. I got you. Just
Yes.
move knowing that you are made for this. You are made for this. And so I don't care about the how. I don't care that sometimes I know my mother, she thinks, oh Lord have mercy, my daughter, she crazy. She gets that part of fear, but that's hers to carry. I
Yes.
have no fear. I'm moving, knowing, and walking with blind faith, and so are you, Grace.
Yes.
We are human and our humanness matter, but we are goddesses and that matters more. And the more we come home to our inner being and connect with that feeling of joy, that feeling of power, that feeling of connectedness for all humanity's sake, and that's why we do the work that we do, we move forward with courage. We move
Yes.
forward knowing that we know that we know that we know that this is our mission. And so we do it.
And you're right, it is annoying because there's many times that I'm like, okay, what am I doing? I don't why am I doing this? Why do and then there's that little voice that says you got to keep moving. And I listen to that voice.
And trust that voice.
I trust that voice, and so
Yeah.
I love everything that you're saying, and I love how your mom says, "My daughter is crazy," 'cause I can, relate to that where, people say, "You have rose colored glasses." I said, "Listen, I rather have rose-colored glasses on and have this unwavering faith and believe in these principles as opposed so if my choice is having the rose-colored glasses on and believing and having unwavered faith or being in fear and being negative, I'm going to choose this every time because I got a choice."
Yes. And when they see you, Grace, and see other powerful women who are walking in blind faith, what we are doing is challenging their autopilot way of living.
That's
We are
right.
contradicting everything that they have been taught to be, feel, and we're challenging their reality. And that's a lot for some people to absorb. And
Absolutely.
again, when we realize how people move through their lives and what they believe and subscribe to, ain't we business. It is not our business to convince somebody
That's right.
that
No, it's
they
not.
are goddesses or that they have the power. We
That's
show
right.
up embodied or
Yes.
learning to become embodied, and that inspires the question. They will ask us, they will inquire, but they have to come at a pace that they truly can handle and believe in, because we cannot convince them that they are already great. They have got to feel that yearning inside of them,
Yes.
like you and I did, that
Mhm.
knowing that pull, we cannot convince them. That's their work. That's
That's
their
right.
grace. And when
That's
they
right.
discover that, when that tapping has happened within themselves, nobody can turn that off for them. They're going to come on board, and that's their journey. I used to try to convince people a long time ago, and I said, that's not my job.
No.
I'm here to be an example. That's it.
Yes, exactly. And I'm not, we're not here to fix anyone, but to be an example and to hold the vision of, healing and greatness. And, I had a conversation earlier and I said, this person's going through it. And it wouldn't be fair of me to just say, okay, they're always going to be that way. I'm not the divine. And so the way that I can help someone who may be struggling and has been struggling is just hold the vision of what's possible. That's it.
Mm.
I can't fix it. I can't change it. Just hold that vision. So I love that. And again, like you said, these principles are not very popular.
No,
We're going against the status quo.
we're going against the status quo. And I think the fundamental thing that maybe triggers other people, or even people who are seeking help, is that they don't realize, and I didn't for a long time, didn't realize that your life, as it is playing out with all the gears, it makes sense. It really makes
Yes.
sense. It is teaching us humility. It's
Mm,
teaching us to practice faith in ourselves. And it is showing us, ah, because this thing happened, my beginning for me, it seeds my asking inside. Sometimes it's silent. You're asking inside, who am I? Where did I go wrong? What can I do? Please help me. Even if we don't say it out loud, Grace, like I did not say it out loud, that asking opens up a little window for something to come in, whether it's in the intuitive grace or guidance, whether it's a friend, whether it's something shows up on the television. It is in that journey of accepting and appreciating our whatever trauma or easeful life that allows us to open up and ask. And when we ask, that's when we allow ourselves to receive more. So
mm,
this continuing the self-judgment and the self-shame and the self-abuse, oh, this has happened to me, it's so terrible. Your life makes sense. It does. You make sense. We just have to not see it as I'm comparing myself to her and her life is this. This is your life.
right.
This is your culture, this is your heritage seated in your DNA coming through all the way, and you're bringing in stuff that other people have not lived and their people haven't endured. Allow
Yes.
yourself to receive yourself and not diminish the power within you by comparing yourself to somebody else. Your life makes sense for you. It makes
Absolutely.
sense.
I love that. Amen. And I, remembered, decades ago when I first started in business, so stressful about, what are the other companies doing? I have to stay on top of it because they taught you stay on top of your competition. And the moment that I surrendered and I said, you know what? I'm running my own race. I'm not going to worry about what's going on around, with everyone else. Because, like you said, I don't know their lineage. I don't know their story. I don't know their experience. I'm self sabotaging to really even think of those outside of me because we're all born in abundance. There is more than enough to go around for everyone. So I let go of the fear of the competition. And 25 years later, actually, we were just voted top 5 women-owned businesses. So it goes to show you that when we let go and just surrender and run our own race, like you said, everything unfolds for us. I can't compare myself to the other person because I don't know their story, their history, their lineage. That was beautiful. I love that one. Thank you so much on
Thank
that.
you, and
Beautiful.
congratulations. I'm thrilled for you. Thrilled
Thank
for
you,
you.
honey. So
Woo!
going, so for you, you had an incredibly successful 20-year career in corporate, very successful. And, you chose to leave corporate and start a successful business. And I talk to so many people who really want to leave their corporate position, very successful, and they're just so afraid, which I understand. Can you share with us a little bit about how you made that decision to leave a very successful 20-year career and start your own?
Mm. I empathize with everybody who's struggling with this, and I celebrate their decision to explore themselves, to explore what they want. Because, as you said before, the certainty that comes with working in corporate it is very seductive. You have,
Yeah.
you know where your trajectory is, and there's a certain path that you follow, and financial security is there, and it's seen as an esteemed job. You have influence, power within the companies, as I did. But as you explore yourself, for me personally, I realized that the Wen that had started this corporate career was outgrown by another Wen
Mm,
who was rebirthed on that Virginia highway. And that Wen, who was rebirthed on that Virginia highway, had amended all those desires about financial success and power and all this stuff. She had amended and upgraded them to a level of fulfillment that she had never seen in her family anybody before. It was her reliant on herself, her spirit, and a knowing that she knew a mission was deposited inside of her that was even more important, more valuable than seen as the first person in her family to have all these things.
mm,
It was
mm,
more important than the external validation. It was more important than the luxury car that she had. And there was no way that I could not undo that new wanting, that new desire. It was pulling me forward.
yeah.
And the more I tried not to be who I was becoming, the more I was hurting myself. Yes, because you cannot undo your desire. You cannot undo the blueprint of your heart to seek what you're going to seek, whatever that is. So the more I tried to stay in corporate, and I loved my job, I loved it. Had great mentors, was seen as a leader, a thought leader, all this stuff, but I had to live with myself and the truth that was brimming in my heart. I was lonely. I was lonely with the money and the things and the things, and I was not being true to my soul's promise a few years later was to come home to peace with myself. I was battling inside of me the tug of war to be the
Mhm.
super duper corporate woman and to be the
Right.
super duper fulfilled, free spiritually, helping other women heal woman. And I said, you've got a choice, When you can either go that way or go upstream or go downstream in this need for you to be you. Which are you going to choose? I chose,
Mhm.
some people say, the tough way. For me, it's the easier way because
Okay.
I have come home to peace with myself. And yes, you don't have the financial security or whatever you had in corporate. Yes, you don't have the momentum of corporate having their reputation and their name that you use to augment your ideas or share your ideas. You are your momentum. You've got to look
Yes.
fully on you, and you have got to remember that you are not really alone. Somebody else has done this before you. Okay, somebody else has had this thought before you, maybe not in your family, but other people have created other realities and changing them every day. There's not
Yeah.
one way for a woman to be successful. There's
Amen.
not one reality, there are multiple realities. So I went and I did my singing. I loved it. Why not? I have a voice, I've
Oh,
been,
I love that. You're
why
gonna
not?
have to share about your singing.
Why not? So I'm saying, Grace, we all have to take a risk on ourselves, like we take a risk on a company. But we also have to remember that the gifts that you have live within you. And then
Mm.
you decide to outsource them to a company. Let's call it that, because that's what you do when you go corporate. You outsource your gifts to a company and then they pay you for your gifts. I look at it
Right.
that way. So now you're resourcing yourself with your gifts and you are becoming that ultimate resource that gives you what you want for yourself.
Mhm.
Now that
Mhm.
takes guts. Mhm.
Yes.
That takes planning. Some of my clients, they've done this, stock brokers, they've done this, other tax accountants, they've done this. You have got to say, hey, this is what I truly, truly want. I believe I will be successful because I am the reservoir of success. And you create that steps to make it happen. Start with your side hustle if that's what you need to do. That's your business. You don't have to convince anybody else, but it starts with your belief in
Mhm.
yourself.
You've said that a few times, throughout the time we've been connecting, is that belief in yourself will get you to the other side. And I believe that. And when I speak not only, from the books, but I speak from experience. And it is, yes, we do need to work and take action, yes. And number one, the belief in ourselves and our connection to source and God is so important. And that's kind of resonated with you throughout, our conversation. Just believe in yourself and the divine. Is it
Amen,
that
Greg.
simple one?
It is that simple, and it seems so difficult. But Grace,
I get
when
it.
I was delivered, and I keep practicing every day because I never understood what it felt like to come home to peace with myself.
Yeah.
When that song sprinkled in my heart on the Virginia highway, I got a taste of joy,
Mm.
of freedom. And
Yes.
when I faced another challenge, I said, imagine what it would feel like. It's almost like saying, taste a mango, but you've never tasted a mango. So you
Mm.
use your imagination. And in that imaginarium, you go, oh, this is what it tastes like to feel free, to believe in something that you cannot see, touch, has not materialized in. That's what it is to have faith in yourself, to imagine that freedom because you've not lived it yet. You've not lived that thing, that risk you need to take. And a lot of
Mhm.
people want you to show me the result first. And when you train and expand your
Mhm.
capacity to believe in yourself, everything is possible. Because if you don't believe that you deserve whatever you deserve, it's not going to come to you. The universe can
Amen.
only give you what you believe. And if you don't believe it, it's
It's
not
not
going to
gonna.
come. And when I believed in myself, Grace, I was able to heal myself. I had been in therapy
Amen.
for years and years. That didn't work. When I believed in myself, I was able to demand that six-figure juicy salary that I got, quit a job, not even having that six. And it came. When I believed in myself and my source
Yes.
of all things, I met the love of my life, my German delight. We have to believe in our greatness. We have to believe it's possible.
Yes, I'm with you 100%. I am a believer in the principles. I am a believer that we must believe in ourselves because I have seen miracles unfold. I have witnessed miracles unfold when we have surrendered. And one thing I've learned when I never say never anymore. I never say never anymore because things that I thought would never have changed.
Amen. And
And
you
so
are that miracle. You are that
we
miracle.
are.
The loving souls listening, they are that miracle.
Yes.
And when we reconnect with the goddess, the God within us, that's when we truly believe that we are the miracles that we are. And we all
Yeah,
need each other to get to where we're going.
for
We all
sure.
have keys. We all have keys to our collective healing, and the awareness that we bring each other supercharges that healing and that belief. But first, we have to reconnect, not outside with all the material things and the external stuff that they say we need. It's inside, knowing that we're already worthy. We are
Yeah.
already worthy. And all we
Amen.
have to do is rewire, reprogram the way we think. That takes courage and work. Rewire
Yes.
and reprogram the way we think and move energy in our body, physical body, emotionally, spiritual body that supports us. So recognize the things that hurt you. Recognize the things that hinder your progress to source within you. Maybe it's that conversation, that person, that unloving person, that television show. You can
Mhm.
separate yourself from that to receive more of what feels like love. We are all intuitively knowing, Grace, what we
Yes, we are.
need and want. We need and want, but sometimes we are intimidated by the path to our divine within us. And so we go back to doing what we normally do, the familiar,
Totally. And
easy
and it's
thing.
and it exactly, and it's easier that way. And I love what you just said because I am extremely mindful of where I invest my time and my energy, what I watch, what I listen to, who I'm around. Of course, sometimes, you cannot control your environment and who's there. However, I'm very mindful of what I allow into my senses, emotionally, mentally, physically, through my sight, what I put in my body. And sometimes it's lonely and it works for me. It works for me because those are all distractions.
Amen. You're connecting with your knowing. There's nothing to prove.
Mhm.
There's no one to convince. And yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's lonely, but when you realize what the loneliness is really saying to you is you're not reconnecting to your divine. That loneliness is trying to disconnect you from your divine. That thing that we're feeling is the absence of the love that we already have. And so what you're doing is wonderful. You keep
Mhm.
coming back and shoring up that love within you
That's right.
by not participating in the in the things that you know are harmful. And again, it sounds so counterintuitive, right? Why
Right.
not eat the ice cream because it makes you feel better? That
Right.
distraction that separates you from your divine.
Right.
This may sound, I know, dear hearts listening, hokey pokey, these people are talking strange things, but it is so refreshing and new and maybe alarming that you have the power within you to illuminate your life and bring prosperity in. Yeah, you do. But nobody's told you that.
Absolutely.
They told you the opposite.
Absolutely. And again, and I love reading stories like yours, and because it also sometimes when we're speaking to clients or candidates, they're saying, well, my circumstances. And I've learned that regardless of the circumstances, because I know there are some really horrible and horrific circumstances, that regardless of the circumstances, we can go within ourselves, connect, and create lives that we never would have imagined.
Ah, Grace. Amen. Listen, I know this may sound strange, Grace, but I firmly believe my spirit came into this experience of human when through all the trauma that I endured, my spirit came and chose me for this path because it knew that I was made to meet you, Grace. I was made to do this work. So, yes, my circumstances were what they were. Yes, I came through a lineage of trauma. My great 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 grandmother was a slave from Ghana and all that. Yes, I came through physical abuse, but because my spirit had a lot of work to churn within me, and my spirit is courageous. And something about this human form allows me to be here through and manifest and speak these words through the spirit to you. So, yes, your circumstance may have you questioning why and how. My loves, just surrender to knowing that you are dynamic. You were
Amen.
chosen to deliver something, maybe first to yourself and then to the rest of the world. And because you wanted so much and you had the bombastic gall to want something that nobody ever wanted, that's why you were chosen. There's something about you. Yes, your circumstance may call you to question and how, why. You were chosen. Accept it, surrender. Accept it, surrender. That's what I have done, Grace. I'm no longer hunting for why is my parents is why. Accept and surrender. I came through that line, through this human form for a purpose, and I understand the mission, and I accept it. I'm willing to risk all of it to bring this message, to help women heal. I understand and I accept it.
Amen. Amen. Yes. I can be here with you all day in this incredible, just magical energy. What is one thing, word of wisdom, that you can leave our audience with?
Word of wisdom. You make sense, my loves. Everything about you requires that you accept that you make sense. That shame you feel within you, that challenge, that hurt, that judgment has a purpose. Same thing as your love for yourself, your love for your friends. They live within you. And they're all working together to invite you into the reception room of your greatness. They're giving you that clarity to appreciate the fact that you are on a mission to come home to yourself. And yes, you may seek all these questions. You ask these questions and keep asking the questions because in that you will get an understanding that I'm not meant to be perfect. I'm not meant to ever get it done. I am on an eternal journey of coming home to myself and accepting me, all the things I've been in, endured, and have endured and experiences help me shore up that self-belief and help me understand that I make sense. I'm not bad. I'm not different. I'm not hurting anybody by being me. I'm just coming home to me. And you make sense. All of you make sense. And there's somebody else out there that is going to be inspired by you accepting yourself, even if you think they don't know you. Listen, everything is energy. Everything is
Yes.
energy, and energy connects us all. You make sense. Expand your belief in yourself by removing the judgment, the natural judgment that we women tend to see from a little girl. Remove the judgment and know that you're worthy. You make sense.
Mm. And so it is, sister. Mm. I'm just going to be in that energy for a moment and allow our viewers and audience just to be in that energy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace. It has been my honor, privilege, delight to be here with you and your audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me. I love your energy and I hold, the vision. Like you said, everything is energy, that this incredible energy just, trickles out. Thank you so much for everything that you do, for sharing your story. It's very inspiring, and for being here with me today. And for those of you that are watching the replay, listening, thank you so much for being here. As always, I am so grateful. And please, so we can continue to bring you incredible guests like Wen, like, share, and subscribe. And Wen, please let our audience know how they can get in touch with you.
Sure. Thank you for asking. You can find me at Rebel, RebelForAspell.com. Rebel for a spell.com. And that's my handle, Rebel for a Spell, on social media. LinkedIn, Instagram is where I usually hang out. Facebook, you can find me. And I'm also on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. If you want to check out the singing and the stuff that I do in coaching, you're welcome to do that as well.
I love it. You've been amazing. I'm looking forward to stay connected and have you back on because there's so much we can talk about. I can't believe we went, an hour. It felt like 5 minutes.
I
So,
know.
right. And thank you all for watching. And until next time, I wish you all just abundance, magic, and gratitude. When hang on with me. Take care, everyone.